Exciting to be back working football and playing football, and we've had 3 practices now. And for us, today was our first day in upper pads, and so it was good to get some contact, get some physical play, and it's a big evaluation for us right now with our young guys, and we're really pleased. That's, I guess, the first thing I'll start off with. We're really pleased with the recruiting class that we have as far as their athleticism, ability to move, ability to strike you like we did today with shoulder pads. Does that mean any of them are going to play? I don't know, because we haven't dug into the playbook enough to see how much that they can comprehend, but we're really excited about those guys. And then our veterans on both sides of the ball have performed really well these first 3 days, and our tempo of practice is really good. Once again, I'm so excited to have all of our staff back because everybody knows where they're supposed to be. The practice kind of runs itself right now with our coaches being familiar, as well as our upperclassmen, of where to be and how to practice. So things are going really well, and we're on day 3, and tomorrow we get another half day of pads before we put on everything on Friday. So we'll open up for questions.
Coach, starting on the first game, at what point does playing on ESPN and having that national spotlight just become normal?
I don't know if it ever becomes normal. We talked about with our guys, we're really in 2 phases of fall camp. We're in the first phase of NDSU versus NDSU for an extended period of time to work on all of our strengths and weaknesses, kinks. What do we have to do to improve? Everybody learning the game plan. And then we'll shift gears in a couple weeks and start looking at Charleston Southern more in depth on the practice field, and then I think it'll start to maybe sink into the guys that not only are we on ESPN first game of FCS, and it'll be great excitement to be able to play at home.
Coach, I know you touched on it on the call yesterday, but how difficult this non-conference schedule is?
It's really difficult. It's really challenging, but I'm excited that we continue to have the 6 home games. I think that's so critical for us and for our fans to have 6 home games. Charleston Southern, right out of the gate, a playoff team that gave Jacksonville State everything they wanted in a quarterfinal game, and then to play Eastern Washington, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. Coach Baldwin does a phenomenal job there, and then to wrap that non-conference up with Iowa and play one of the big boys that obviously is coming off a great 2015 campaign. So it's a challenge, but I know our guys are excited about that challenge, and we'll attack the first one, which is Charleston Southern, here in a couple weeks.
Have you looked at any perspective on how different this year could feel right now if Carson Wentz hadn't broken his wrist, if Easton Stick hadn't gotten out there? Have you thought of that at all, how different this year could be?
No, we really haven't, Beth, because it didn't happen that way. And so, spring kind of would have answered all those questions, because we had a guy that was a seasoned veteran out there after 8 games is all, but he played like a seasoned veteran in those 8 games. So all those things probably would have been answered in the spring. So to me, it's business as usual, and we came out for fall practice saying we have a returning quarterback, and he's playing like it, he's leading the group like it, and it's something we're really excited about.
That always looks different when you observe practice and you see somebody who's comfortable in reps. What's that like from a coaching standpoint, though? How different is that? How much can that affect how far you guys can go this year?
Well, with Easton, it's just him getting more and more comfortable in our system. And Coach P and Coach Hedberg, putting more on his plate at the line of scrimmage, and extending the playbook. We're 3 days into it, but we have a lot of our playbook in because he can handle everything. All the running backs are back. A number of wide receivers and tight ends are back. A lot of offensive linemen are back. So we're so much further ahead right now than maybe we thought we would have been in the spring.
Is there a time in week 2, week 3 of camp you want to know what's going on at left tackle and your other cornerback spot?
Yeah, I would say it would be for sure after week 2, because we have one major scrimmage, I think, in a couple of Saturdays, the second Saturday, that we'll have a lot of those questions answered. But I feel really good about the depth and the competition at the tackle position in the offensive line. Just, you can tell a lot of those redshirt sophomores now, the Colin Connors and Volsons and Bacons and those guys, are so much better and so much more comfortable. So it's going to give us some depth, and it's going to give us some competition. But I would say after that first scrimmage.
How about corner?
Probably the same thing. We're going to do it a little differently after we have that first scrimmage and we settle in a little bit more Charleston Southern. We're still going to challenge our guys by having some, quote, NDSU, whether it's a third down period, whether it's a blitz period or a team period, just so that we can stay sharp and continue to get those kids better at those positions, because every snap, if Colin Connor's a left tackle, every snap he goes against Greg Menard's really good. Every snap that Jalen Allison goes against R.J. Urzendowski is going to benefit him.
It's only 3 days. Any red flags or too early for that?
There's red flags every day we go out there. There's no question about that. You're always trying to, look and see who's improved, who is getting more and more of the playbook locked in. Today we worked an awful lot on our kicking game, and you can tell Cam Peterson's got a stronger leg this year. James Fisher is on point on every one of his snaps right now. Now we're into our third practice, and Jackson Kuntz says, okay, I get how practice is supposed to run now. And he's progressing and doing a nice job. So every day we're finding those red flags.
Has there been any pleasant surprises from the first 3 days?
Well, it's hard to. I don't want to name a name and miss somebody, but I just would say overall the freshman class that we brought in, athleticism is really high.
You guys don't do a lot of junior college transfers. Darren Kelly's the guy that came in. Is he someone maybe you have a little bit of a thinner corner group? You might use him in some sub, things like that?
Well, I think Darren, we're trying to see what his skill set is right now. He's a really athletic kid that can run. We're trying him at safety. We may try him at corner. We have to find out how much he can handle from the playbook, and he'll fit into the mix somewhere. How quickly? Is he going to be a guy that's going to play 15 or 20 snaps or 50 snaps? I think we'll determine that over the next 2 weeks. But looking at his athleticism, he's one of our top guys.
Coach, you talked about it a little bit, but what's the status of the kicking game? What does Cam Peterson look like this year, and then how about the punting?
Well, we're going with Cam and we're going with Jackson Kuntz. I mean, those are going to be our two guys for field goals, PATs with Cam, and Jackson will punt. I don't know which one of them will kick off yet, but we've got Cam that is now a veteran, and I think the success he had in the championship game, you can tell is carried over, and he's got a lot of confidence. Jackson Kuntz, he's kicked at the FBS level, so I know that he has some confidence. It's going to be hard to replace Ben LeCompte. You don't replace a kid like Ben LeCompte, but we're not asking Jackson to do that. We're asking him to be Jackson Kuntz, and I've been pleased. He's got a great leg, and he gets the ball turned over. He can place the ball. Now it's just him getting used to our scheme and our system. He didn't punt from what we call the shield punt. He was in a different punt formation, so it's going to take him a little bit of time to understand what we want him to do within that punt scheme.
Does the depth at running back allow you a luxury like still using Bruce Anderson on kickoffs and not having to necessarily worry about health there?
Yeah, we're going to use those running backs in a variety of roles. I mean, Bruce is going to be a bullet on kickoff. Bruce will return kicks. We're going to try Lance on some things on special teams. Chase has been on special teams all the time, but we need to find a way. We've got really good athletes back there to make sure that those guys are playing between 30 and 50 plays a game. Is that 20 of those on special teams?
The second half of the season that King Frazier had, is he kind of the main guy here this year?
I think all of them are main guys. I really do. And King would tell you the same thing. All of them want to carry the ball 25 times. That's what you hope for a running back. But all of them have different skill sets that we have to find a way to utilize those guys. And you guys watched us play last year. There's times where 2 or 3 of those guys are on the field together. It's going to be the same thing this year. We have to find a way to get our best 11 guys on the field in different personnel groups. And so I'm excited. King looks really good. He's leaner. He's faster. He knows the system so well. I'm looking for a big year out of King.
How's DeLuca look after 3 practices?
Like an All-American, like you'd expect him to look, and I can't say enough about our front seven, just in general. And Nick looks really good because Nate and Steidel and Brad and Greg eat up 5, 6, 7 blockers, and Nick can run. And so I think our front seven as a whole is really solid. I've really been impressed with MJ and Pierre as well. You have 3 senior linebackers that started every game last year coming back. That's a real comfort zone for us.
Any of the kids that redshirted last year really going to push for playing time that you can see, or so many returners make that tough?
Well, it's hard at that position simply because those 3 guys are such elite players. And we'll find out over the next 2 weeks how much those guys can press, whether it's Mercadal, whether it's Marlette and whoever else. But the other thing that plays a big role in that is If our offense is on the field holding it for 40 minutes, I'm not taking Nick DeLuca out of the game. You're only playing 55 snaps. If we're in a situation like we were Montana game 1, we need to be able to roll a lot more bodies in.
Float around practice, is there a position group that you've got your eye on more than say, some of the others?
Well, probably the secondary. That's where we have some needs, especially at the corner position. I'm really impressed with Robbie and Trey at the safety spot. You can tell that they've played a year together as well as a spring together, and I like our backups there with Bachmeyer and Jackson Brown. I think those guys are doing a nice job. Isaac Senescar is kind of in that mix. So probably the corner position I'm really keeping an eye on. It really helps us to have Brian Shepard as a graduate assistant for us. Shep played safety, he played corner, he gets the game, he understands our system. We're really leaning on Shep because Coach Klieman can handle the field and Shep can handle the field, and ultimately I'm on one of those fields, and so they actually have 2 secondary coaches at times.
Chris, you've had a lot of NFL tension the last few years. How's that going to help DeLuca this year?
I think it'll help. I think it'll help a bunch. I think we'll have all the teams in again. Now, will they all be in before end of August like they were last year? I'm not sure, but I think him being on that Butkus Watch Award will probably give him even more notoriety. So I would say everybody, they all know who he is for starters. I've received enough phone calls already. I would say everybody would be through before the end of September at the latest.
Anyone else on the exiting players this season you think are potentially?
There'll probably be a few. We got 3 old linemen that are seniors that we'll find out what they can do. We don't have a big senior class. We only have 11 guys, so we'll find out which ones. But I know that obviously Nick is the one that everybody talks about because of his size and athleticism.
Do you ever find yourself looking at Easton and saying, oh my God, he's a sophomore?
Yeah, he's an experienced kid, and he's a really mature guy, and that's something that I take back to his true freshman year when he had a different year than most redshirt freshmen. He was in every game plan. He was on every road trip. He roomed with Carson. He was involved in everything, so he really gained a year. If you recall, we did the same thing with Jalen Allison, and you can see the benefit of where Jalen's at right now as only a sophomore. But, Easton, just the confidence that he's playing with, the confidence he has in knowing his ability, and he's also probably 12 pounds heavier, and he looks better, and he's already a fast kid, but I think he's got a stronger arm this year, and he's playing with a lot of confidence.
Do you open the book up a little bit more for him now on YouTube?
We'll find out how much he can handle. That's the big thing is as he progresses, the playbook's big enough. But what will he be able to do at the line of scrimmage when he sees this? Can he check us into a different play? That's where we need to find out if he can handle those things. And we'll make sure that he's in a position to handle as much as he feels comfortable.
Injuries of significance?
Not in the first 3 days that I'm aware of. We've had some shoulders and some hamstrings and stuff, but nobody that I can think of that would miss any time.
Would you say your depth is as good as ever, especially considering the athleticism of the freshmen like you talked about?
Probably positionally. I think we have tremendous depth in the O-line and D-line, which is a really good position to have your depth at. Running back, so on and so forth. I don't think we have great depth at wide receiver and defensive back yet. We're still developing that, and you hope some of those wide receivers that haven't played a lot, not necessarily a true freshman, but the Marquise Bridges and the Kayvon Hawkins and those guys, as well as the Jalen Wimbushes and Eric Bachmeyers, Jackson Browns. Those are the guys that really have to continue to improve in the fall for us to have better depth at those 2 spots.
Chris, you ever worry about the exposure, which is great, of starting and being the first game, outweighs the expense of getting here earlier, starting earlier, move everything up and earlier? Does it ever say that maybe it's not worth it to play in this first game of the year?
Absolutely. To be honest with you, yeah. I mean, you're taking 4 vacation days away from coaches that spend 80 hours a day and have 2 weeks off for a year. But in the same respect, having that opportunity to play at home this year and being on ESPN, you can't pass that up. That is what a great thing for our community to have ESPN coming in here. And our guys, we haven't played at home on the first game since 2012. And that's, it just seems like it's hard to prep to go on the road that first game. We assumed we knew what we were getting into in Montana with noise. It was way louder than we thought. We assumed we knew what we were getting into with Iowa State. It was just a different atmosphere, and it was so much hotter, and it was just a different – we know the atmosphere we're playing in at Gate City Bank Field, and our guys are excited that we're not having to prep and get on a plane and get on a bus and get in a hotel and those other things. But, I think this is the last year for us, though, unless they make a rule change. I think then we'll be back to a normal schedule for at least a couple of years.
You see outside of this league a swelling to say 12 games would be a good idea, because that's been floated out by other conferences?
Yeah, I think it's institutional. I'm not especially for it, but I'm saying that coming from being here 5 years where we've played 15 and 16 games. If a team's playing 11 games, the 12th game's great, but all the injuries and all the wear and tear on these guys, I worry about Landon Leckler and Jack Plankers and Nate Tangaway that have played 45, 50 games already. It's hard enough when you're a defensive back, but when you're an interior lineman, now you throw on another game. That's a lot of, that's especially the way we play and the way we practice. And so, I'm not a proponent of saying we're going to always play 12 at the FCS level.
When does your camp transition from your own install to getting ready for Charleston Southern?
Probably 10 to 12 days out. Okay.
You mentioned all the exposure and how great being on ESPN for that first game is. You probably hit the apex of exposure this last year. Do you continue to learn about it? What have you continued to learn about what that exposure brings, what it's like when you're out on that recruiting trail or just in life in general?
Well, the exposure is great, and we recruit to it. We talk about it. Our guys, our incoming kids, the kids that we're recruiting, we utilize that because, hey, you can watch us on August 27th. And I don't care where you're at in the country. You can flip it on and see, and don't just watch the game. They'll be doing other things around our tailgating, around our community that we have so much to offer here. So it's great for us. We've been using it as much as we can. I think two of our first 3 games are truly on ESPN, not a different. I mean, we're truly on ESPN. That's unheard of at the FCS level. So our guys are excited about it, and I know it's helped us in recruiting.
Is the message any different this year than, say, previous years to these guys as you guys, start to get into fall camp?
Stay humble and stay hungry. We've got a long ways to go, and what you did yesterday is great, but pales in comparison to what you can do today. And 2015 was dynamite. This is a new season, a new team, and our goal is the same as it always is. It will be and has been for a long time. Be in a position to compete for the Missouri Valley Conference Championship. The way you do that is by continuing to get better every day, every week through the non-conference schedule, because once you get in Valley play, it's really survival of the fittest. And can you stay healthy, and can you get into a rhythm, both sides of the ball, and where you give yourself a chance to compete every Saturday? Because we all know, everybody that's been following the Valley for a number of years, the margin for error is so small. Yeah, any game that you look at that we played last year could have probably gone the other way. There's maybe 1 or 2 cases that maybe it wouldn't have, but it's such a great league.
Miss lifting weights in a grocery store?
We've only had 1 workout over there, so I like it, and the fact that we're closer to campus, even though we're across the street. Maybe it's a simple thing. I don't want guys driving. It just worries me when guys are driving all over the place. And so for us to be able to park at the Fargo Dome and walk over there to lift is great. And what a great facility. And I know that Coach Kramer's excited about it. Coach Kramer may think it's a little bit too nice. That's what he'd probably tell you, is we're used to a grocery store and stuff, but it's a great facility, and it's another piece of the puzzle for us, not only in football and all of our athletic teams, to have that great facility.
Chris, which of the big guys have transformed their bodies the most, like coming out as a high school kid, after a year at Kramer under their belt? Which guys look the part?
Go to the older kids, you go to the older kids, you'd say Landon Leckler. I mean, that guy was a 240-pound kid out of Beach, North Dakota, and now he's 315 pounds and just really good athlete. I look at some of the younger guys right now, and our three defensive ends that we're really excited about, Derek Tuska, Cole Karch, and Stanley Jones. Those guys have really transformed their body, and they're really athletic 240 to 255 pound guys that I'm really excited about because they're going to help us. We have 2 starting defensive ends, but they're going to help us throughout the year. And I'd say Colin Connor. Colin Connor, who's battling for that left tackle position, has really transformed his body and has done unbelievable things and kept his athleticism. He's always was an athletic guy, but now he's put on 30 pounds and he's put on a lot of muscle mass, and he's still a great athlete. So, the stories of those, Phil, continue on because all those young kids are having such great strides every year.
How much easier is it going to be for that left tackle, that left guard, all the way over to right tackle, have played a million games, almost all of them?
How much easier is what? I'm sorry?
I said, how much easier is it going to be for whoever wins the left tackle job because those other 4 linemen have played forever?
It's still you're part of that puzzle. You're part of that piece, and I don't think you ever play left tackle and it's an easy job. I really don't, because you're always going to get the best pass rusher, and you're always going to have all the pressure on you on passing situations. But I know the guy that comes out of that will have a lot of confidence because of some of the other guys with him. But it's a tough job. I mean, that's a tough position to play. There's a reason why we've had NFL kids there, from Cornick to Billy to Joe. Shoot, that's big shoes to fill.